Is anyone out there?
Hey, it's me. I was just checking. Well, guess what video is coming up next? The Paris Catacombs. You know you're gonna enjoy this one. All right, I hope you're ready, because I am. A lot of stairs. I think they said like 138 stairs going down and 80 coming up. I don't know, but I got my sneakers on. I'm ready to go. Okay, here we are. We're going in.
It makes you a little bit dizzy.
So how many stairs?
This is about 130 or so. We're going down 20 meters.
Oh, goodness. 130 stairs. I'm gonna get dizzy. It's round and round and round we go. Where we stop, no one knows. I think we made it.
So what we're going to do today is basically take a tour through 2,000 years of history. We're going to do both the quarries and the history of Paris and the history of how the catacombs ended up being here, and then we're going to go and see the ossuary, which is where all the bones are. To where Paris began. The first signs of human habitation goes out in Paris at 8,000 years BC. Of tunnels is what we're going to walk in. We start at the entrance over here. When we come out of the exit, it's going to be way down another street. It's nowhere in the same place. I'll show you how to walk back to where we started. That represents less than 1% of the tunnels in Paris. There's more than 200 miles of tunnels, of catacombs. They are everywhere. Paris is effectively Swiss cheese. One of the reasons we don't have tall buildings in Paris is simply because you cannot support the foundations. The quarries are much deeper, right? We're like 22 meters. The metro at some places is 10 meters above us. Okay, so we're below the metro now, below the train lines, all that kind of stuff. We're even below. There used to be an ancient aqueduct that was built here by the king in the 15th century that comes out very nearby. That's above us too. Right? So we're really quite deep underground. Sinkholes start appearing. Buildings get built and then they disappear into the ground. The worst case of this is in 1774, Boulevard Saint-Michel, so it's not far from the Notre Dame. 30 meters of street disappears into the ground, 30 meters underground. Can you imagine, like an earthquake, rumble, and then just thump. No more collapses. We've got these massive empty caverns. I want you to go and reinforce these, and they have to explore all these hundreds of miles of tunnels and go and basically build walls to support the weight so that Paris doesn't fall into the ground and disappear. And so that's their job, and that job takes them almost 50, 60 years, right? They're working all the way through from the 1780s through to the early 1900s. We have the tunnels everywhere. Now, the work of the quarrymen was dangerous, dirty, and horrible. Also, we're walking here. If you think this is a difficult height for us, this height was shaped out for us, for visitors, especially tall. The quarrymen were working at very short heights, and sometimes when you go through even the illegal catacombs where people are crawling through, they might be crawling through heights like that, literally crawling through a hole in the wall like that to get through to different places. Very, very low. Also, once you start going anywhere, how the quarrymen work, dust everywhere, right? From the lines, lots and lots of dust. Most quarrymen were lucky if they lived past the age of 30. It's a very dangerous job, like working in the mines anywhere. And if they did live past the age of 30, they also usually went blind from working in the dark all the time. It says 65.G.1781. right? This wall is built by the quarry company that's here to reinforce everything, right? So this is a supporting wall. And we know it's a wall 65, that relates to their records. G means G was the guy who was in charge of the quarrymen at the time. That means it's Guimont, right? It's Guimont, that is the first guy that genius engineer who's built all the quarrymen. And 1781, we know this is one of the first areas that they reinforced in the catacombs. This is a bit of a wall built like teeth, right? Why is there a gap in the wall? You'll see it as you come past. That's because this is an ancient form of ventilation. This was a way of making sure they could get fresh air down here. And yeah, it gives you an idea exactly. See the sloping roof? How very, very small those spaces are? That's the kind of conditions people were working on. Not nearly as nice as what we get to walk through. Have a look as we go past this one. Telling us is that we're near the Aqueduct d'Arcueil. Okay, remember I told you that there was in the 15th century they built an aqueduct bringing water from the south of Paris into the city, right? So that's what it's telling us. We're very near to that, the Medici Aqueduct. See what the quarrymen had to put up with? Lots of dust and rubble and the small stones. Once they'd throw everything back along this side, once they'd extracted the nice big stones. So the quick answer is no. The outside scenes were filmed in Paris, and I can tell you about one of the problems with the film. So guys, just wait here. We're not going any further. We're going to go through this VIP section here. We're now going down to the deepest part of the catacombs. Okay, we're going to descend another. Millions of years ago, it used to be underwater. And therefore, in the stone here, you can see all these fossils as you turn the corner on the right-hand side. The stone's absolutely full of fossils of old shells from millions of years ago. Just super cool to get to see them down here. So yeah, come on down. Just please be careful of your step. It is a bit steep and slippery. Can we gather around? This is a cool little surprise that only the private groups get to see. You're like, what on earth is this doing here? Well, it's kind of random. But there was a guy who was a quarry worker in the late 1700s down here. He had a name, but his name's not important because everyone called him by his nickname. His nickname was Beau Séjour, which means like, have a good day. And he got a job working down here in his spare time inverted commas, because you know he was a French worker. He would find a secluded little corner of the catacombs to come and carve his masterpiece.
Oh,
so
wow.
So in the corner, and Beau Séjour has done some even more work. His name is actually Frank Decroux. This one is even more amazing. Right, so it's an amazing spiral staircase going all the way down. This is a bath. What is a bath doing in the middle of the catacombs, all the way deep down here? This was another genius invention of the quarrymen, but for a very practical purpose. There's just endless. Every time we see one of these gates and one of these doors, they all lead off into other parts of the catacombs. Everywhere we go, we keep seeing gates and doors. You can go, imagine if you have 200 miles of tunnel, you can go off in a direction for, 10, 20 miles, and it might be a All right, let's go on up here. This is the only part of the catacombs where you have a double-story view. It's quite amazing. These are called the Tuscan pillars. You'll see when we get to the top and turn around. It's a great place to take a photo. Yeah. What an amazing thing to have underground.
And why did they build them?
Why? Well, this is part of the reinforcements in 1879. But you have to remember, French people don't just build things practically. We like to build things that are beautiful. And so why just build something practical when you can make it really pretty? So don't go out, just wait here. You can take some photos. And what I'm going to do is, if everyone stands down here, I'm going to get a group photo of all of you with the... nobody was buried down here. Okay, we moved all the bones here. Why did we move them here? Pretty simple reason. Around the same time as the city is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, more and more people dying, we got to put them somewhere. So we have cemeteries in the center of Paris, and they're getting full. And we learn about the concept of health and disease from the fact that People are getting sick near the areas where these big cemeteries are. They're overloaded. Sometimes they don't bury people very deep, right? And they just put a bit of limescale over them. And of course, the biggest cemetery of all is right next to the biggest central market of Paris. Châtelet-Léal, anyone been there? And you have the Cemetery des Innocents. And the story goes that at the Cemetery des Innocents, we comes to the it's the 1780s, around the same time, and you start to have, like, people are complaining about the smell, about the disease, you know, we're really overflowing with this kind of stuff. Here's an image of the cemetery, okay? You can see the church is still there today. Literally, they've got these buildings around the side, the houses are right there, up there against it, and you can see people even put bones after the, you know, it's not like you get a grave and that's it. They put you in the ground, afterwards they dig up the bones and they put them in the roofs here. So they already have this idea of ossuaries, of putting the bones in that area. Literally they're just, you know, mass graves in a round. You know, you bury someone, dig up the bones, put it somewhere else. One of the stories of the problems is that there's a restaurant nearby. You see these houses very, very close, right? There's a restaurant, and one night, the proprietor of the restaurant, he's got his clients there, they're all drinking, whatever. He sends his daughter to go down to the basement and get another bottle of wine. She goes, 5 minutes later, hasn't come back. 10 minutes later, not come back. 15 minutes, he's like, where is she? What's going on? He goes down into the basement to find her. The wall of the cemetery has collapsed into the basement. Half rotting bodies and bones and everything else have come pouring into the basement. And there is his daughter buried up to her chest to here, trying to breathe, surrounded by all the dirt and dead bodies, holding the bottle of wine in her hand like that.
Well, at least she saved the wine.
At least she saved the wine, right? Very important. At this point, the king is like, too much concerns about health and safety and smell and everything else. And he says, no more burials in Paris. That's it. And well, where are we going to put the bodies? Where are we going to bury people? What are we going to do? He says, very simple. Remember Guillaume, our famous engineer? He says, I've got a great idea. Me and my men are doing all this work, reinforcing the catacombs and the quarries. We have all this empty space underground. Why don't you come and put the bones down here? Seems like a good idea, right? So that's what they start to do. And they start with the Cemetery des Innocents. That's the first one. They bring them in the middle of the night. They dig up all the cemeteries, dig up all the bones. And in the middle of the night, they bring them over in horse and cart. They dump them down the old shafts where they used to bring up the stone. Right? They just pull them down the shafts and they just start wheeling them around and shoving them all over the place. They're only separated by cemetery. So you have the sign of the cemetery and what year they were moved to. Because remember, at the time, you didn't know where people's bodies were anyway. You buried them in the ground and then they just were in these graves or dug them up, stuck them in the ossuary. So you didn't know where Grandpa was anyway. You just knew he was at a cemetery. So now he's in the same place, at a cemetery. We have 6 million, the bones of approximately 6 million Parisians down here. Okay? Dating back to the early Middle Ages, people from burial graves of from the plague and everything, children, adults, you name it. They only started moving them here in the 1780s. The last ones that were moved down here were around the 1850s. One, it says, Arrête, c'est ici Empire de la Mort. Stop, you are entering the Empire of the Dead. Okay, this is their place. 6 million bodies down here. You also have this black with the white triangle, and the same thing here. This is ancient Egyptian mythology. The black is the dead, death, the white is the living. Right? All right. Yeah, can you see there's a heart here? Right, just careful of your backs when you go against the, you don't want to run into the bones. Now, you'll notice that none of the skulls have any teeth. Right? And some of them have been cemented in place. That is because the reason we don't touch the bones, in why they check your bags on the way in and way out, is people used to come down here and steal skulls or steal bones. It's obviously easier to take a skull out by putting your hand in the eyes and pulling it out that way. So some of them have been turned around and cemented in place. But we have a story about 10 years ago, an envelope arrived, was posted here with some teeth inside. And the envelope came from Canada. And a man said, please, please, go and find, I stole these teeth from a skull. I'm really sorry. Please go and find the skull from where they came and put them back. Ever since I stole these teeth, my life has been a disaster. It's like I've been cursed. Right? All these terrible things happen. Now, of course, there are 6 million people down here. We have no idea where that skull is or where he took it from. But they did put the teeth back down here somewhere, and hopefully the guy's curse was lifted. But there you go. Good reason not to go and take any of the bones. You never know what will happen. Yeah, right? These are more modern ones. You can see it tells you from what cemetery it is. Moved here in 1848. That's probably too bright. There is a section where I'm going to tell you you can use your flash. Okay? There's one place when we get to, I will tell you you can use your flash.
That's actually kind of cool. It is. Yeah, I thought it was overexposed, but it's not. I can tell you tone that down just a bit. Still make it look creepy looking. You can see like a Boy Scout overnight thing down here.
These ones are interesting. Have a look at these signs. These say the bones here are from the ancient cemetery of the Trinité and Saint-Leu, which is Boulevard Sebastopol. I know that's in the 9th arrondissement of Paris. It says they were put in 1859 in the ossuary of the West. There was another ossuary area where they went and put all the bones. And then they transferred them to the catacombs in the 7th month of 1859. Right? So they were very, very quick to the back, layered neatly because that makes a nice wall, and done in the design like that. There are going to be plenty of bones, guys. There is no shortage down here.
Plenty of them.
And then I'm going to put my
Slight angle.
Corrigan or anything else. It's here in the pursuit of science. So what do we do? So we're going to move in now to the second VIP section. Okay, are we all here? 1, 2, 3, 9, 10. Yes, we're all here. So we're in the second VIP section. This area is amazing because this is where the oldest bones are. Okay, some of the oldest cemeteries and the first ones that were moved here. You see, Cemetery de Saint-Landy, 1792. Look at the wall here. It looks like these bones are about to fall on us. Right? The wall is shifting and coming forward. That's what happens to them. It's the reason why we have to maintain it and sometimes concrete some of the bones. Because otherwise, literally, the force of the weight of all those bones is actually coming forward and they'd all come falling on top of us. 1786. Cemetery de Renaissance. First bones that were moved here. This is the first place they started in April. Look how they've thrown it. Now look how far back that goes. Can you see? That is like 5 meters back of bones. Cemetery de Renaissance was the biggest cemetery in all of Paris. The main one smack bang in the center of the city. So out of the 6 million people that are here, I'd estimate at least something like 1.5 million to 2 come from the one cemetery. Also note, some of the skulls we can see, some of them we're not really sure where the damage is. Others it's quite clear that there may have been killed with a bullet. Right? Bullet holes in the skulls. So they are somewhere, we know that. So here you can take some flash photos. Where this tomb is. Small ventilation machine that's pushing all the thing out. Army, naval air force. Alright guys, so look at this nice space around here, right? This is pretty cool. What's this area remind you of? Sorry? Well, here we've got what looks like an altar, right? or even a grave. I promise you, there's no one in there. Okay? But this was built to use as a church. They held mass down here. Would you believe me if I told you people got married down here? That's kind of freaky, I know. When they finished pouring the invention of concrete, it means that by the early 19th century, we didn't need to quarry for stone anymore. Also, we kind of run out of stone. We were trying to protect the city from falling down. We didn't want.
So that means silent, you mortals. Hi, you're waiting for me. Sorry.
Yeah, I can lock you in there if you like. Who did that and why? During the revolution, the king and the queen and all the royals. Yeah, guillotine. We chopped their head off. It's important to remember that the guillotine was actually invented because it was thought of as a modern idea to make the death painless. If you're going to kill someone, at least make it immediate and painless. The guillotine was, has anyone seen the Luxor obelisk? Right, the tallest, that big tall ancient Egyptian thing looks like the Washington Monument. Yeah, it's a Place de la Concorde, right? That Place de la Concorde, that's where the guillotine was. I'll actually show you a picture of that. I have it somewhere else. So that's where the king, the queen, and all the royals lost their heads. Kind of unfair because it happened right in front of their old house, right? Because of course the Louvre Museum was the palace, the old palace. There's Place de la Concorde with the guillotine, right? So they chopped all their heads off there, and imagine they killed about 2,000 royals. The guillotine and the period of the Troubles was, you know, there were thousands of people who were sent to the guillotine. That's all right. It's waterproof enough. Now, where did they put the bodies? Where's the king and the queen? Anyone know where they are today? They're in the Basilica of Saint Denis, right? The big church where we buried all the kings and queens of France. That's where they're supposed to be. Or are they? Because after the guillotine, they took all the bodies of the dead royals, king and queen included, and dumped them in a huge mass grave in the nearest cemetery, which is the cemetery of the Madeleine. Here is from the cemetery of the Madeleine. This was the closest one to where the guillotine was, right? Now, in the middle of the night, or later on, royalists came, dug up the bodies of the king and the queen and some of the closest royals, and transferred them to the Basilica of Saint Denis, where they would be with all the other kings and queens of France. Except, they're missing their heads. Or their heads are not connected to their bodies, and they're doing it at dark, with candlelights. They don't want to get caught. They're in a hurry. So we probably know what the king looks like, and we took the right head. Right? It's not hard to guess what he looks like. Make sure you take the correct head. But they've all been in prison for like 9 months or more, and they're all wearing prison uniforms. So how do you know which one's the body of the king? They think they took the correct bodies, and the right bodies with the right head, and they have the king and the right royals in each of the same graves at the basilica, but no one knows for sure. And if they don't have the correct body of the king in the Basilica of Saint Denis, where is the king's body and bones going to be? Somewhere right in front of us. Right? So this already we know for sure contains the bones of many, many royals, because there were 2,000 of them. So many of the royals who were guillotined are all here. But whether the king is here or not, or the queen, Marie Antoinette, maybe, maybe not. Their heads aren't here, their skulls aren't, but are bits of their bones? It's a mystery no one can answer. So we've got a lot of guys coming down around this way. We have this cool thing.
Damn.
Awesome.
Yay.
Make sure you send me the link.
Okay. Yeah, it's called Travel Vicariously Through Jazz and G.
Oh, that sounds brilliant. Send me the link when you reply to the email.
I will.
Awesome. All right,
Okay.
guys, let's head on up.
Oh, what's in there? Why couldn't we go in there? Here we go. Back up the stairs. Here we go. Back up the stairs. So I hope you enjoyed the catacombs. Yes, it is creepy and yeah, bones, skulls. Yeah, but it was very interesting and tons of history. I can't make this shit up, guys. This is real. So whether you like it or not, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. And remember, we want you to like, subscribe, comment below, and share. Share with your friends and family. And we'll see you in the next video.